Jeff, today I thought we had an interesting topic that I think is very informative because I'm a big matchup guy. This is always a fight of styles every week. I think it's important to understand what's kind of coming on the schedule. We don't know how good the Giants' opponents are going to be. We don't know how COVID's going to affect everything. There are a lot of unknowns, but we do know where I think some of the strengths and weaknesses of the teams are that the Giants are going to play, just based on their personnel. And I think that's somewhat static. So I thought that's a pretty good way to start here.
Sure.
This, we'll go back and forth, and I'll take one topic, that you take another. We haven't discussed ahead of time what we have, so we might duplicate. We'll see. And I agree, defense is big, but I got to start with the most important position on the field, and that's the quarterback position. Okay? I think that's where you have to start because that dictates how good opponents are going to be, generally speaking. Obviously, injuries can impact this, but I think the interesting thing looking through the Giants' schedule is a reflection of the NFL as a whole, Jeff, in that I think for the first time in a long time, and I think it's kind of defined by the fact that Cam Newton was just signed to a one-year deal 2 days ago, that he was still out there, that there simply aren't a lot of teams now that don't have quarterbacks that are good. And if you look at the Giants' schedule, you used to be able to identify some soft spots based on, this team's starting blah, 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 and I think we're going to be able to have an easy way with them. Well, there simply are not many soft landing spots on the schedule anymore. Look at a team like the Bears in week 2. If Nick Foles wins that job, that guy led the Eagles to a Super Bowl. Now, is he Tom Brady? No, but is he stiff? Absolutely
not. Well, he's better
not.
than Trubisky. So.
Well, exactly. And again, we don't know who's going to win that job. I think that's going to be an open competition. And then the only other spots you could look at is Dwayne Haskins in his second year for the Redskins for 2 games, which, we'll see how much he improves. I think the Redskins are looking for a big step from him the same way the Giants are looking for a big step from Daniel Jones. And then the only other spot where you're looking at a soft spot, it's the first overall pick in the draft.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you
Joe
don't even
Burrow.
know. I mean, you want to call him soft, but he's pretty good.
Well, that's the thing, and maybe that's not a soft spot. Kyler Murray, on December 13th, he was the top overall pick in the draft. Is that a soft spot, or was Kyler Murray going to have a monster second season? I don't know the answer to that question. So, to me, there are very few soft spots. And then you have some, Jimmy Garoppolo, say what you want about him. But then you have some high-level players. We'll see how Ben Roethlisberger comes off his injury in week 1. He says he's still better than he ever has. We'll have to see. We'll see if Jared Goff bounces back. Dak Prescott's a really good quarterback. Carson Wentz is a really good quarterback. Tom Brady, obviously, is unbelievable. And then you want to talk about some mobile quarterbacks in the back half of the year. This is the theme that I picked up on. Russell Wilson on December 6th. Kyler Murray on December 13th, Lamar Jackson on December 27th, and then Dak Prescott again on January 3rd. And by the way, in the middle of that is Baker Mayfield, who can move around too. So, I think you look at the quarterbacks, you don't have the Drew Breeses and the Matt Ryans of the world that you had on last year's schedule because you played the NFC South. Maybe those kind of more efficient veteran quarterbacks, but this is a tough little group here, and the Giants are going to have to bring their A game. And we've talked about the weakness all offseason, Jeff. What's their pass defense going to look like? They're going to be tested almost every week by some pretty good quarterbacks.
Yep, which puts the onus on that defensive line. And we've always talked about where that pressure is going to come. So Patrick Graham is going to have to do something. I read that article that you had on on Giants.com about the defense and the offense. I mean, listen. This is an important characteristic of this defense is where the pass rush is going to come from because of what you just said as far as these quarterbacks going down the line. Now, if I was to rank these quarterbacks and as far as who's going to give me the most problems, I'm just going to have to go with Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, right? I mean, he's got Gronkowski, so I'm going to leave him at the top.
Who's
have to.
2?
I think that probably Russell Wilson is going to be my second guy.
That's what I would do too. I'm with you.
Then if I'm going to do maybe just I'll stop at 5. So my third one, I would probably go with
Lamar.
Yes, I was going to say it's either Lamar or Dak. I think that both. So I'm going to go Lamar there, and then I'm going to go with Dak, and then I'm going to probably end up with I think Goff.
Wentz or Roethlisberger or Goff.
Yeah. I think I'm Roethlisberger coming off of an injury. I mean, I think he's very susceptible to something. Although it is the first game of the season, though, he's going to be healthy.
Yeah,
for
you would think.
So, I go with that. I got to go with Roethlisberger. I'm not going to throw him way far down on there. He's got too much experience, and I think if he is healthy, he is better than both of those guys.
Well,
so.
Jeff, I think I think you hit the top 7. I think those are the
Yeah.
top 7 guys for sure. I would pick Goff last in that group. I think Wentz and Ben are both better than him.
Okay.
But, and that accounts for 9 games. Because think about it. You have the Cowboys and the Eagles you play twice.
Yeah.
So those are 9 quarterbacks right there. And then you just have a bunch of young guys where you don't know how good they're going to be. The Joe Burrows, the Kyler Murrays, the Baker Mayfields. How good are these guys going to be? They could, and Dwayne Haskins even. These guys could be great, or maybe they're not going to be that good. That's something we have to wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah. From a matchup standpoint, from the of our conversation here, I think matching up, I think the hardest game is going to be that Tampa Bay game because you are matching up against a quarterback, and then they've got an outstanding wide receiver and tight end matchup.
I'll tell you though. How about those? How about the mobile quarterbacks though? Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott. Throw Carson Wentz in the mix if you want. Those guys can all move, and all those guys are in the second half of the year. You have some. You have a Roethlisberger, Foles, Garoppolo, Goff to start the year. Those guys aren't moving around a whole lot. Brady too. But, boy, you get to the second half of the year, you got guys going to be moving all over the place.
Yeah, it's kind of like the theme of the whole NFL nowadays.
It's
guys
getting
can
there.
Just get out there and move around. I mean, the old statues of the NFL just aren't around anymore. I mean, I think Tom Brady might be him and Roethlisberger are your 2 statues of the league, right? I mean, just sit there.
Breeze, Matt Ryan, those kind of all in that same group.
But the game is evolving into, a lot of RPO stuff and a lot of move the pocket and a lot of just if it's not there, don't throw it, run it.
All right, let's go to your first theme, Jeff. Where do you want to go?
For my first team?
Yeah, for our theme, however you want to look at it.
Well, let's go the Steelers. Let's go Steelers. They're the first game of the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when I look at that Steelers defense, I feel like that's the strength of that football team. Their pass rush last year was incredible with T.J. Watt, the other Watt guy, Cameron Haywood, and then Bud Dupree. I mean, those guys are all legitimate pass rushers, and I think that's something that the Giants are going to have to contend with on that opening day is getting those tackles. Who are those right tackles and left tackles going to be for the Giants? We don't know, but they're going to have their hands full that first game.
That's no question, and Jeff. I'm gonna kind of build on that point, and then we could talk about the first 4 matchups here. This is, and I've said this before. I don't want to be that repetitive, so I'll be quick here and I'll let you comment on it. We're looking at 4 of the top pass defenses in the league in those first 4 weeks.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And you're looking at not just good pass rushers, and you mentioned some of them on the Steelers. The Bears have Khalil Mack in week 2. Week 3, you got Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead. Week 4, you got a guy named Aaron Donald who's pretty good. And then throw in, how about Jalen Ramsey and Richard Sherman and Eddie Jackson and Minka Fitzpatrick and, guys like that can all play at a high level as pass rushers and secondary players. 2 of those games on the road. That is going to be a real tough start to the year for the Giants' passing attack against 4 good defenses when, the Giants are still trying to figure out their new system here with a short offseason. Again, I'm not trying to say Daniel Jones can't do it, but that is a real tall order against some very talented defenses those first 4 weeks, Jeff.
Run the ball.
Yep, I'm with you.
Run the football. And then you can set up the run for the pass, right? I mean, that's kind of where we're going with that. So I'll agree with you 100%. You got a lot of young guys in this too. Javon Kinlaw is a guy that we talked about extensively this year in the draft. Brandon Ayuk, is that his name?
You got it, Jeff. Good job.
There we go. I'm getting better with names. It's taking me a while, but I'll never get good with them. But these guys, the matchups here is run the football. That's my game plan. First 4 weeks, run the football, time of possession, no turnovers, no penalties, and score more points, you win. There you go. Easy.
Score more points, you win. That is some of the most in-depth critical analysis I've ever heard, Jeff.
It sounds simple, but
it
listen,
is simple.
play some good defense, good specials, and penalties. You'll win some games if you can just do that. I'm telling you, it's a real simple talk about. Yeah, you want to match up. That's great, but the fundamentals of the football game and winning football games, it's very simple, John. Don't turn it over. Penalties and cost you games. Tom Coughlin used to tell you that all the time, right? And score more points than the other team, and you're okay. There you go.
All right, and then, Jeff, I don't want to give you your next theme. You can give me whatever you want.
Okay. You go. You go.
But just as a point of reference, and this isn't one of the things I had written down, but I'm just looking at it now, after those first 4 games, which are all non-divisional games,
Yeah, we're going to the division.
5 of the next 6 games, with Tom Brady wedged in between, are against the division, with 2 against the Redskins, 2 against the Eagles, and 1 against the Cowboys. So if you want to see when this season's going to be decided, it's between October 11th and November 15th when you play 5 division games.
Yeah. Very interesting how they did that this year with the schedule. Rather than backloading it with those games, I guess, I only have the teams here. I don't have the dates. Are there a lot of John? Are there a lot of backloaded? I mean, you said 5 there, so there's only one other division game.
Yeah, Dallas, the last game of the year, from
That's
November
it, right?
from November 29th to December 27th. There are no division games.
That is that's uncharacteristic, right? I mean, usually they're at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's your thick of the schedule right there. Winning your division, win your division, as Len would say, win your division, and you go to the playoffs.
And by the way, Jeff, you mentioned the pass rushers at the top of the schedule. I mean, just look at the division now. The Redskins have been stocking pass rushers. You go from the kid from Ohio State they drafted this year to Montez Sweat to Ryan Kerrigan. We know what the Eagles' defensive line looks like with Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham and all those guys that, rush as a unit. Then you got DeMarcus Lawrence with the Cowboys, not to mention, Shaquille Barrett on the Bucks. He's pretty good, by the way. Oh, and by the way, Myles Garrett on the Browns. Oh, by the way, Chandler Jones on the Cardinals. Oh, by the way, the Ravens' unbelievable pass rush. And I mentioned Nick Bosa. I mean, how about Geno Atkins on the Bengals? So there's a
Calais
combination.
Campbell.
Oh, that's another really good one. That so you look at it up and down, that and you wonder exactly where the pass rushers are going to come from the outside and the inside. There's a lot of really talented pass rushers, so this Giants offensive line is going to be tested throughout the year.
Well, now you know why they went out and got a number 1, right? I mean, so it's very imperative that this offensive line gels quickly and that these guys play at a high level. I'm still concerned about the center position. I hope they'll get that right, but I feel like that's the weak link in the 5 positions that are there, and that they got to make it good. They got to make it right because they got their hands full. And Colombo, the new offensive line coach, is going to have to do his best job of coaching this year with that type of defenses coming at them.
Well, that's what I got, Jeff. Those are the big ones I had: the quarterback, the pass defense, and the pass rush. Who are some of the guys or some of the other matchups for you or themes throughout the year for you that really jumped out?
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm with you. Most of the stuff with defense came from those positions. I feel like another theme here in the division I'm looking at is with Dallas, their receivers.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I think the Eagles have done a better job with their with their wide receiver position opposed to last year. And even the Redskins have done okay. So, I mean, from a wide receiver position, I think within the division, all in all, I think all the teams got better. The Giants just stayed the same. They didn't really do much. But if you look at those other teams, I think that's a theme within the division is that the receiving position has gotten better.
A lot of young guys, too, especially in the division. The CeeDee Lamb, the Eagles added a bunch of guys, Jalen Reagor. The Redskins added some guys in the draft. So, yeah, look, that's a really good point, Jeff. I didn't pick up on that. And it's funny, I'm looking at the rest of the schedule now. This isn't a season where you're going to have a lot of games against like super duper number 1 wide receivers until you get to the back half of the schedule. Front half of the schedule, look at it, Juju Smith-Schuster, who's good but not great. Allen Robinson, good but not great. The Niners just lost Deebo Samuel to the foot. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, they're good but not great. Then you have the Cowboys group, which, obviously Amari Cooper's excellent. The Bucks have Mike Evans. Then the back half of the schedule, you got A.J. Green. You got Lockett in Seattle. The Cardinals are rolling out Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins now.
Yeah,
Good
I was
luck.
waiting for you to go there.
Good luck. The Browns are rolling out Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. Good luck. And the Ravens have Hollywood Brown and a bunch of other young guys at wide receiver. So, you might not have, the Julio Jones of the world pop up all that often, but especially in the second half of the schedule, you get some pretty high-level wide receivers.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so there's when we talk about the secondary for the Giants and how inexperienced they really are, This is a matchup where the Giants are going to have to do well, and maybe that's some extra help on some of their number one receivers. And although right now you're trying to figure out who that number two cornerback is going to be for the Giants. I mean, we know who the number one guy is, but I feel like that's something we have to take a look at. As far as another theme goes, I think when I look at the running back position, that's another one where I don't see much there as the teams that we play this year. If you keep going down it, I mean, if you look at the Steelers, Chicago, San Francisco, nobody jumps off the board on those teams, right?
No, you have some young guys like Cam Akers with the Rams, but you're right. There aren't a lot of big time backs until you get to Ezekiel Elliott.
You get Dallas, and I feel like I think if anything,
Joe
who was the
Mixon
other
with the
team?
Bengals is pretty good.
Yeah, you know what? I think the Browns with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are probably your other team that could give you a little bit of problems. I mean, listen, the Browns offensively, if they ever kick it up a notch, they've got all the talent in the world.
If the Browns figure it out, man, they're stacked offensively.
They really are. And it's just a matter of, I think it's the quarterback position there. I think all those other players are good. They just got to get the ball and be smart from the quarterback position. So, but yeah, I mean, from a running back and a wide receiver positions, not a whole lot there. Not like the defensive lines that we talked about for sure.